What if your greatest power was not in your action, but in the moments before you act? What if the secret to an unshakable mind was found not in fighting your reactions, but in a set of ancient rules that prevent them from ever taking control? The choice to never overreact again is yours to make. 8 Rules to Never Overreact Again, compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Awareness is your first defense. Imagine a great fortified kingdom. On its highest walls, vigilant watchmen stand ceaseless guard, their eyes trained on the distant horizon. They are the kingdom's first line of defense. They do not wait for the enemy to be at the gates. They spot the faint dust cloud of an approaching army miles away, giving the king and his generals precious time to prepare, to strategize, and to meet the threat from a position of calm readiness. The kingdom is never caught by surprise because its awareness is its shield. That kingdom is your mind, and your self-awareness is that vigilant watchman. This brings us to a core inner conflict that leads to almost all of our destructive overreactions. We are often shocked by the intensity of our own anger or anxiety, feeling as if it came from nowhere, a sudden ambush that hijacked our rational mind. The problem statement is this: we are constantly being caught by surprise by our own emotions because we have no watchman on the walls. We walk through life with our attention fixated on the external world, completely oblivious to the subtle emotional weather patterns forming within us. A small irritation, a minor slight, these are the distant dust clouds. Because we don't notice them, they are allowed to gather force and momentum until they become a full-blown army of rage at our gates. And by then, it is often too late to mount a rational defense. The transformative solution, the first rule to never overreacting again, is to cultivate vigilant self-awareness. You must become the watchman of your own inner world. The core idea is that emotions do not appear from nowhere, they build. Awareness is the skill of noticing the dust cloud long before it becomes an army. It is the ability to feel the first subtle spark of irritation before it becomes a raging fire. This early detection is the key to all self-mastery because it gives you the most valuable resource in any conflict: time. Time to pause, time to think, and time to choose a wise response instead of being forced into a panicked reaction. This is the Stoic practice of prosoche, a continuous, sober attention directed at one's own consciousness. The Stoics trained themselves to be sentinels of their own minds, observing their impressions and feelings without immediate judgment. They knew that an unobserved mind is a mind that will be ruled by external events. An observed mind, however, is a kingdom ruled by reason. To begin this practice, you must learn to post watchmen on your walls. For the next week, you will practice the mindful check-in. Set an alarm on your phone for 3 random times during the day. When the alarm sounds, you will stop what you are doing for just 60 seconds. You will close your eyes and ask your watchman one simple question: what is my inner state right now? Your job is to simply name what you find without judgment. Is it calm and sunny? Is it slightly overcast with a chance of frustration? Is it a small storm of anxiety brewing in the east? By simply naming the emotional weather, you are proving that you are not the weather itself. You are the observer of it. The profound benefit is that you will dramatically reduce the number of times you are ambushed by your own emotions. You will begin to notice the dust clouds earlier and earlier. This awareness is your first and most powerful line of defense. It is the foundation upon which all other rules of self-control are built. Awareness gives you the early warning. But what do you do once the watchman has sounded the alarm? The next step is to control the gate. In our next lesson, we will learn how to delay our reaction to regain control. If you are ready to become the watchman of your own mind, declare it in the comments below. I will man the watchtower. Your commitment to awareness strengthens the defenses of our entire community. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel and like this video to continue your training. Lesson 2. Delay reaction to regain control. Imagine our fortified kingdom again. The watchman has sounded the alarm. A potentially hostile force is approaching the main gate. A foolish and reactive king would immediately order his own soldiers to charge out of the gate and meet the approaching force head-on. This is a reckless gamble. He doesn't know the enemy's numbers, their intentions, or their strength. The wise king, however, employs a different strategy. His first command is not to attack, but to raise the drawbridge and bar the gate. This is a tactical delay. It does not solve the problem, but it creates a crucial moment of security and a space for assessment. Behind the safety of the barred gate, he can analyze the situation, formulate a strategy, and choose the time and place of his engagement. The delay is not a sign of fear. It is an instrument of control. This metaphor illustrates a critical inner conflict. When we are provoked or triggered, we feel an intense internal pressure to react now. The problem statement is this: this feeling of urgency is an illusion, and surrendering to it is a strategic catastrophe. When we react instantly, we are playing the other person's game. We are the foolish king, charging out of the gates without a plan, driven by pure reactive impulse. This is when we say things we regret, escalate conflicts unnecessarily, and hand over all our power to the person or event that provoked us. The failure to delay is the failure to think, and the failure to think is the guarantee of an overreaction. The transformative solution, the second rule to never overreacting again, is to master the tactical delay. You must learn to raise the drawbridge of your mind. The core idea is that a reaction delayed is a reaction disarmed. By consciously creating a pause between the trigger and your response, you wrest control of the timeline away from the external event and place it back in your own hands. This pause is the moment where reason is reborn. It starves the initial emotional impulse of the oxygen it needs to explode, and it gives your rational mind, your inner king, time to come to the throne and consult his advisors. This is the single most powerful and practical technique for regaining control when you feel yourself losing it. The Stoics were masters of this. They understood that our first impressions are often wrong and emotionally charged. They trained themselves to not be carried away by them. They would make the impression wait at the gate, refusing to let it into the city of their mind until it had been properly vetted by reason. This practice is what gave them their legendary equanimity and composure under pressure. To begin this practice, you must implement the drawbridge protocol. For the next week, your mission is to practice raising the drawbridge in any conversation or situation that begins to feel emotionally charged. Your immediate go-to action will be to create a delay. You can do this with a number of simple phrases. For example, "That's an interesting point. I need a moment to think about that." Or, "I hear what you're saying and I want to give it a thoughtful response. Can we pick this up in 5 minutes?" Or, if it's an email, you will simply not respond for at least an hour. During this delay, whether it's for 5 seconds or 5 hours, you are giving yourself the precious gift of time. You are allowing the initial, hot, emotional reaction to cool down. This allows your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, to come back online. You can then think about the situation strategically. What is the best long-term outcome here? What is the most virtuous response? The profound benefit of this practice is that you will almost immediately stop making situations worse. You will prevent countless arguments and misunderstandings. You will develop a reputation as a person who is calm, thoughtful, and difficult to provoke. You are the wise king, who never rushes into battle and who, because of his patience, rarely loses. Delaying our reaction gives us the space to think. But in that space, we must correctly identify what we are dealing with. In our next lesson, we will learn the crucial skill of naming the emotion, not the enemy. If you are ready to master your own timing, declare it in the comments below. I will raise the drawbridge. Your commitment to this discipline helps our entire community find its strength. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 3. Name the emotion, not the enemy. Imagine our wise king, secure behind his barred gate, observing the force that has assembled outside. A foolish king would look out and immediately label the force as the enemy. This single act of labeling frames the entire situation as a life-or-death battle. It simplifies a complex situation into a binary of us versus them, and it primes his entire kingdom for a response of aggression and fear. The wise king, however, practices a more subtle and powerful form of intelligence. He does not label the force outside. Instead, he turns his gaze inward and accurately labels the state of his own kingdom. He says to his council, "The reports from the watchmen are causing a state of fear among the populace. The treasury is reporting a feeling of anxiety about a potential siege." He names the internal emotion, not the external enemy. By correctly identifying his own kingdom state, he can respond to that state directly, perhaps by issuing a calming proclamation or shoring up supplies, which is a far more effective strategy than simply shouting "enemy" at the walls. This brings us to a crucial inner conflict in how we process challenging situations. When someone's actions provoke us, we immediately focus outward. The problem statement is that we name the other person as the enemy. We think, "He is a jerk," "She is being manipulative," or "They are trying to attack me." This habit of labeling the other person as the source of our feeling is a form of intellectual laziness that leads directly to overreaction. It makes the other person the problem, which immediately puts us in a state of conflict and removes our own agency. We have made the situation a battle against an external foe, rather than an opportunity to manage an internal state. The transformative solution is the third rule. Name the emotion, not the enemy. When you feel a strong negative reaction brewing, you must shift your focus from the external trigger to your internal experience. The core idea is that your feeling is a fact, but your judgment about the other person is a story. You know for a fact that you are feeling anger. You do not know for a fact that the other person's intention was to make you angry. By focusing on labeling your own emotion, you are grounding yourself in an indisputable reality and keeping the problem within your own kingdom, where you have the power to solve it. The Stoics taught this as the discipline of assent. They would say that another person cannot harm you. Only your judgment that you have been harmed can harm you. When you label someone an enemy, you have assented to the judgment that you have been harmed. When you simply label your own feeling as anger, you are withholding that assent. You are simply observing an internal weather pattern. This is a subtle but life-changing shift in perspective. To begin this practice, you must become a psychological meteorologist. For the next week, whenever you feel a negative overreaction beginning, you will pause, and instead of blaming the external person, you will accurately name your own internal feeling. You will not say, "You are making me angry." Instead, you will state internally, "A feeling of anger is arising in me right now." You will not think, "My boss is a tyrant." You will think, "When I am around my boss, I experience feelings of anxiety and intimidation." This is a radical act of taking responsibility for your own feelings. The profound benefit of this practice is that it instantly de-escalates the situation. It prevents you from turning disagreements into personal attacks. It keeps your mind focused on what you can actually control, your own inner state. You will find that when you simply name the emotion, its power over you is diminished. You are the wise king, understanding that the first step to calming a panicked populace is not to fight the army outside, but to accurately understand and address the fear within his own walls. Naming the emotion keeps us grounded in reality. From this grounded place, we can now choose what this reality will mean. In our next lesson, we will learn how to choose meaning over instant drama. If you are ready to take ownership of your feelings, declare it in the comments below. I will name the emotion. Your commitment to this self-awareness brings clarity to our entire community. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 4. Choose meaning over instant drama. Imagine our wise king, having recognized a feeling of fear spreading through his kingdom. The drama of the situation is beckoning. The dramatic response would be to give rousing speeches about the evil of the enemy, to whip the populace into a frenzy of patriotic hatred, and to lead a glorious high-stakes charge. This path offers an immediate, intoxicating rush of purpose. But the wise king knows that this path, while dramatic, is often reckless. He chooses a different path. He chooses meaning. He decides that this challenge will not be a drama about victory or defeat. Instead, it will be a meaningful opportunity to display the virtues of his kingdom: courage, discipline, and resilience. His goal is not the short-term thrill of the drama, but the long-term building of his kingdom's character. He chooses meaning over the instant gratification of drama. This highlights a powerful inner conflict. When we are faced with a negative situation, we are often drawn to the most dramatic interpretation possible. The problem statement is that our addiction to drama is a primary cause of our overreactions. A coworker misses a deadline, and our dramatic interpretation is, "This is a disaster. They are sabotaging me." A partner is in a bad mood, and the dramatic story is, "They don't love me anymore. Our relationship is doomed." We choose the story that provides the biggest emotional jolt, the one that casts us as the victim in a thrilling tragedy or the hero in a righteous battle. This drama is exciting, but it is also toxic. It clouds our judgment, escalates conflicts, and drains our energy. The transformative solution, the fourth rule, is to consciously choose a meaningful interpretation over a dramatic one. You must learn to see every situation not as a scene in a movie, but as a chapter in the story of your own character development. The core idea is that you are the author of the meaning of your own life. The external events are just the raw material. You have the power to weave them into a story of chaotic drama or into a story of purposeful growth. By choosing meaning, you are intentionally adopting a more useful, more virtuous, and more empowering narrative. The Stoics were masters of this. They called this the philosophical reinterpretation of events. They believed that any event, no matter how painful, could be reinterpreted as an opportunity to practice virtue. A betrayal was not just a drama of being wronged. It was a meaningful opportunity to practice forgiveness and to learn wisdom in choosing one's associates. An illness was not just a drama of suffering. It was a meaningful opportunity to practice courage and to appreciate the present moment. This is not about denying reality. It is about choosing the most noble and empowering lens through which to view that reality. To begin this practice, you must become the author of your day. For the next week, whenever you catch yourself getting swept up in a dramatic story about an event, you will pause and perform a narrative shift. You will ask yourself, what is the dramatic, reactive story I am telling myself right now? Identify it clearly. Then you will ask the author's question, what is a more meaningful, virtuous, and empowering story I could choose to write here? For example, the dramatic story might be, my friend canceled our plans again. They don't respect me or my time. The meaningful story could be, this is an opportunity to practice patience and to communicate my needs more clearly in the future. It is also an unexpected gift of free time that I can now use for my own growth. You must consciously choose to adopt and operate from this new, more meaningful story. The profound benefit of this practice is that you will begin to feel like the author of your own life, not just a character in a chaotic play. You will feel your sense of victimhood dissolve, replaced by a powerful sense of agency. You are no longer addicted to the cheap thrill of drama. You are engaged in the deep and satisfying work of creating a life of meaning. Choosing meaning gives us a powerful framework. But to live this meaning, especially under pressure, we must train our minds to find stillness in the heat of the moment. In our next lesson, we will learn how to train stillness in daily tension. If you are ready to become the author of your own life, declare it in the comments below. I choose meaning over drama. Your commitment to this principle helps our entire community write a better story. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 5. Train stillness in daily tension. Imagine the king's throne room, which we have established as a place of quiet command. It is easy for the king to be still when the kingdom is at peace. But the true test of his mastery is whether he can find that same stillness in moments of tension. When advisors are arguing, when a petition is being made, when a difficult judgment must be passed, the novice king's inner stillness shatters at the first sign of tension. He becomes agitated, his mind races, and he loses his regal composure. The wise king, however, has trained himself differently. He has practiced finding his stillness within the tension. He uses the pressure of the moment not as a reason to abandon his calm, but as an anchor to deepen it. He breathes, he listens, and he finds the eye of the storm, even when the storm is in his own throne room. This is a critical inner conflict. We practice our moments of silence, but then we enter a stressful meeting or a tense conversation, and all our hard-won calm seems to evaporate instantly. The problem statement is that we treat stillness as something that is only possible in the absence of tension. We see them as mutually exclusive. This means our calm is fragile and unreliable, useful only when things are already easy. The moment we face real-world pressure, our stillness is revealed to be a brittle facade, and we revert to our old, reactive patterns. We haven't trained our stillness for the battlefield. We have only practiced it in the barracks. The transformative solution, the fifth rule, is to train your stillness in the very moments of daily tension. You must stop seeing tension as the enemy of stillness and start seeing it as the perfect training ground for it. The core idea is that the ability to remain internally still while under external pressure is a skill. And like any skill, it must be trained with specific, repeated practice. You must deliberately use the small daily moments of tension, waiting in a long line, being stuck in traffic, listening to a boring story, as opportunities to practice active stillness. The Stoics called this being in the world, but not of it. They trained to be like a rock in a river, allowing the chaotic currents of daily life to flow around them without disturbing their inner core. They didn't wait for a life without tension. They used the tension of their lives to perfect their tranquility. This is how you build a resilience that is not theoretical, but battle-tested and unbreakable. To begin this practice, you must become a tension trainer. For the next week, your new mission is to actively seek out and use moments of low-grade tension as your personal gym. When you find yourself in such a situation, for instance, stuck in traffic, you will not distract yourself with your phone or get frustrated. Instead, you will see it as a perfect opportunity to train. You will perform a stillness rep. You will bring your full attention to the physical sensations of the tension in your body. Notice the tightness in your shoulders, the clenching in your jaw, the restlessness in your hands. Do not try to make these feelings go away. Your only job is to observe them with a calm, detached awareness while you consciously deepen your breathing. You are bringing the light of your awareness and the calm of your breath directly into the heart of the tension. You are proving to your nervous system that it is possible to be still, even when the world is not. The profound benefit of this practice is that you will systematically raise your tolerance for pressure. Situations that used to cause you immense stress will begin to feel like minor inconveniences. Your baseline state of calm will become more robust and less dependent on external conditions. You are forging a stillness that is not a fragile greenhouse flower, but a hardy, resilient oak, capable of standing firm in any weather. Training stillness in tension keeps our mind calm. Now we must ensure that in this calm, it is our wisest self that is in control. In our next lesson, we will learn how to let logic override the emotional surge. If you are ready to train in the heart of the tension, declare it in the comments. I will find stillness in the stress. Your commitment to this practice strengthens us all. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 6. Let logic override the surge. Imagine our king in his throne room. A messenger bursts in with a terrifying report. A dragon has been sighted in the northern provinces, burning villages. The court erupts in a surge of panic and fear. This is the emotional surge. One advisor, driven by fear, screams, "We must flee." Another, driven by anger, shouts, "We must send the entire army to die in a glorious, hopeless battle." The king feels the surge of fear and anger in his own chest, but he has a trusted, lifelong advisor who stands silently beside the throne. This advisor is old, has seen 1,000 crises, and is never swayed by passion. His name is Logic. Before making a single decree, the king turns to this advisor and asks for his calm, rational counsel. Logic overrides the surge. He helps the king to assess the report, question its source, and formulate a plan that is strategic and wise, not panicked and reactive. This is the inner conflict we face in every moment of overreaction. We are faced with a dragon, a provocative event. There is an immediate, powerful surge of emotion, fear, anger, outrage. The problem statement is that we almost always listen to the loudest, most panicked advisors in our inner court. We let the emotional surge seize the throne and dictate our actions. We are the king who listens to the terrified courtier instead of the wise, logical advisor. This is why we overreact. We are acting from the most primitive, least intelligent part of our own mind. The transformative solution, the sixth rule, is to make it an ironclad law of your inner kingdom that logic always gets the final vote. You must train yourself to consciously disengage from the emotional surge and engage your rational faculty before you act. The core idea is that your initial emotional surge is just a first, rough draft of a possible reaction. It is a proposal from the panicked part of your brain. Your rational mind, your prefrontal cortex, is the wise advisor whose job is to review this proposal, edit it, and, if necessary, reject it entirely in favor of a more intelligent plan. Letting logic override the surge is the essence of mature, kingly self-governance. This is the absolute heart of the Stoic promise, that human beings are gifted with the faculty of reason, and that our freedom and happiness depend on our ability to use it as our guide. They saw the passions as a kind of temporary madness, and the wise man was one who never handed the crown to a madman. He would listen to the passions, gather their data, but the final decree would always come from the silent throne room of logic. To begin this practice, you must formalize the role of your inner advisor. For the next week, whenever you feel a powerful emotional surge, you will perform a logic check. You will use the pause we have practiced to create a space. In that space, you will force yourself to ask 3 logical, detached questions. Question 1. What is the objective fact of what happened, separate from my emotional story about it? Question 2. What is the most likely, rational explanation for this event, as opposed to my most dramatic emotional one? Question 3. What is the most strategic, useful, and virtuous course of action right now that serves my long-term goals? These questions act as a powerful brake on the emotional surge. They force you to step out of the panicked court and into the quiet chamber with your advisor, logic. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, the emotional surge says, "He disrespected me and tried to kill me." The logic check asks, "Fact, a car moved into my lane." Most likely explanation, the driver is distracted or a poor driver. It has nothing to do with me personally. Most strategic action, slow down, create distance, and maintain my own peace. The benefit of this practice is that you will begin to build a deep and abiding trust in your own rational mind. You will stop being a victim of your own emotional highs and lows. Your life will become more stable, your decisions more intelligent, and your reactions more dignified. You are the wise king who knows how to listen to all his counselors, but who gives the final decisive power to the wisest one in the room. Logic provides the plan. Now we must take full ownership of the results of that plan. In our next lesson, we will learn to own the outcome, not the trigger. If you are ready to give logic the final vote, declare it in the comments. Reason rules my kingdom. Your commitment to rationality elevates our entire community. Please subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 7. Own the outcome, not the trigger. Let us return to our wise king. A severe drought strikes his kingdom. The harvests fail, and the people begin to suffer. This is the trigger, the external event. A weak king would focus all his energy on the trigger. He would curse the heavens for the lack of rain. He would blame his advisors. He would complain about his bad luck. He is obsessed with the thing he cannot control. The wise king, however, takes a different approach. He accepts the trigger, the drought, as a reality that is outside his command. Instead, he takes absolute ownership of the outcome. He says, "The rain is not my responsibility, but the well-being of my people is." He focuses all his energy on what he can control: organizing grain reserves, digging new wells, implementing fair rationing. He owns the outcome, not the trigger. This illustrates a powerful and liberating inner conflict. When things go wrong in our lives, our instinct is often to focus on the trigger. The problem statement is this: by obsessing over the external trigger, we place ourselves in a position of perpetual victimhood. We blame the economy for our financial struggles. We blame our partner for our unhappiness. We blame our boss for our lack of career progress. This habit of blaming the trigger feels good for a moment, as it absolves us of responsibility, but it is a trap that leaves us completely powerless. As long as the problem is out there, we have no power to fix it. We are the king who can do nothing but complain about the weather. The transformative solution, the seventh rule, is to learn to ruthlessly own the outcome while completely ignoring the trigger. The core idea is a radical shift in where you place your sense of responsibility. You must accept that you have zero control over the triggers of life, the actions of others, the economy, accidents, illness. These are the weather. However, you have 100% control over, and therefore 100% ownership of, your response and the personal outcome you create. The outcome is not what happens to you. The outcome is what you do with what happens to you. This is the ultimate reclamation of your personal power. This is perhaps the most challenging and empowering principle in all of Stoicism. It is the final word on the dichotomy of control. It is the understanding that while fortune may control the cards you are dealt, you, and only you, are responsible for how you play the hand. A man who masters this principle can never truly be a victim, because he sees every situation, no matter how dire, as an opportunity to exercise his own power of response. To begin this practice, you must become the chief responsibility officer of your own life. For the next week, you will go on a blame fast. You are forbidden from blaming any external person or circumstance for any problem in your life. Whenever you are faced with a difficulty, you will catch the blaming thought and you will immediately replace it with the owner's question. The trigger is what it is. What outcome am I now responsible for creating? For example, if a teammate messes up and jeopardizes a project, the blaming mind focuses on the trigger. It's all his fault. The owner's mind asks, the trigger is his mistake. The outcome I am now responsible for is finding a way to salvage this project and lead the team through this setback. You are shifting your focus from the uncontrollable past to the controllable present and future. The profound benefit of this practice is that you will feel your sense of power and agency expand exponentially. You will no longer feel like a cork bobbing on the waves of life. You will feel like the captain of the ship, capable of steering toward a positive outcome no matter what the weather. This is the essence of true strength, to take complete ownership of your own power to create, regardless of the circumstances. We have learned to own the outcome. Now, for our final lesson, we must learn to act in a way that makes us proud of the outcomes we create. We must learn to respond like the man we most respect. If you are ready to take radical ownership of your life, declare it in the comments. I own the outcome. Your commitment to this principle empowers our entire community. Please remember to subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel. Lesson 8. Respond like the man you respect. Imagine our king, now old and wise, facing his final and most difficult crisis. His kingdom is threatened, his body is failing, and his advisors are lost in fear. He is tempted by despair and anger. But in this critical moment, he does not just consult his own logic. He does something more. He closes his eyes and pictures the great, wise kings of history whom he has studied and respected his entire life. He thinks of Marcus Aurelius, of Solomon, of all the legendary figures who faced impossible odds with wisdom and grace. And he asks himself one final powerful question. What would they do? How would the man I most respect handle this very moment? And in picturing their response, he finds the clarity and courage to enact his own. He responds not just as himself, but as the embodiment of his highest ideal. This is the final and most inspiring inner conflict. We have all these rules, all these tools, but in the heat of the moment, how do we bring them all together? How do we ensure we act from our best self? The problem statement is that our best self can sometimes feel like an abstract and distant concept. In a moment of intense pressure, it can be hard to access that inner king. We can know all the rules, but still fail to apply them. The transformative solution, The final rule that ties all the others together is to respond like the man you respect. You must create a clear, vivid image of your ideal self, your inner sage, your inner king, and use that image as your ultimate guide. The core idea is that it is often easier to act on behalf of an ideal than it is to act on behalf of our flawed current self. By asking, "What would my hero do?" you are borrowing their strength. You are accessing a source of wisdom and courage that feels bigger than you are. This elevates your response from a personal reaction to a principled action. The Stoics frequently use this technique. They would constantly hold in their minds the example of great sages like Socrates or Cato. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to choose a Cato, to pick a role model of ideal virtue, and to live as if that person were always watching. This was not a form of hero worship. It was a practical psychological tool for holding oneself to the highest possible standard. It is a way to make virtue concrete and accessible, even in the most difficult moments. To begin this final practice, you must choose your inner counsel. For the next week, your task is to identify one or two people, living or dead, historical or personal, who represent your highest ideal of wisdom, courage, and grace under pressure. This is your personal council of heroes. You will spend some time thinking about their qualities. What makes you respect them so much? Write these qualities down. Then, for the rest of the week, whenever you face a moment of conflict or a difficult decision, after you have paused, you will convene the council. You will take a moment and ask, what would your hero's name do in this exact situation? How would they respond to this person? What would they prioritize? You are not looking for a literal answer. You are trying to access the spirit of their character. This practice will instantly lift you above your own petty, reactive impulses and connect you to a higher, nobler way of being. The profound benefit of this practice is that you will begin to consistently act from the best version of yourself. You will find yourself becoming more like the people you admire. This is the fastest path to integrating all the lessons we have discussed and becoming a person of true Stoic presence. You are no longer just trying to follow the rules. You are embodying the spirit of the wise kings who came before you. From awareness on the watchtower to the wisdom of the inner council, you now possess the 8 rules to never overreact again. You have learned to be the king of your own mind, the master of your inner storms, and the calm center of any conflict. This is the path to unshakable strength. Thank you for your dedication to this noble journey of self-mastery. Your commitment to responding with wisdom and grace is a powerful force for good in a reactive world. If this video has empowered you, please like, comment, and subscribe to the Stoic Dominion channel to continue your training in the art of living well.